Hola señores, hoy vamos a hablar del pretérito perfecto. El pretérito perfecto. El pretérito perfecto es un tiempo muy importante en español que se usa muchísimo, realmente se usa muchísimo. Sobre todo en España, bueno, en todo el mundo se usa muchísimo, pero en España se usa realmente mucho más que el pretérito aún. Se usa siempre. El pretérito perfecto es algo que nosotros usamos mucho en inglés también. En inglés se conoce como el present perfect y es algo que usamos realmente muchísimo en español y en inglés. Básicamente, para formar el pretérito perfecto vamos a usar el verbo haber, que es el verbo que ya conocen por la palabra hay, por ejemplo. La palabra hay es una forma del verbo haber. Entonces, se usa el verbo haber. Haber es un verbo que tiene un poco el significado como to have en inglés. Es relacionado con el verbo tener, pero no se usa ya para hablar de la posesión. Entonces, vamos a usar la forma del presente de haber y un participio pasado. El participio pasado ya hemos aprendido en la última clase a formar ello. Entonces, os lo explico en inglés. Today we're going to be looking at the present perfect, which is known as the pretérito perfecto in Spanish. Present perfect is a tense that is incredibly important. It's used all over the world quite regularly. In Spain, above all, it's used super often, many times sort of in place of the preterite as well. So there are many things in Spain that people would express with the present perfect that in Latin America they might use the preterite to express. But in all of these different countries where Spanish is spoken, the present perfect is an incredibly important tense, and it's quite easy. It's formed using the verb haber, H-A-B-E-R, haber, plus a past participle, which is what we just learned in the last class session. The verb haber, if you can picture H-A-B-E-R and you think about the fact that the B and the V are often quite confused, not confused, but they're quite related in Spanish. Think of it as H-A-V-E-R, which is not how it's written, but we can sort of picture it that way. And you can see the relation to have in English. This is a verb that is now no longer really used in this way, but in older Spanish was used to express possession, just like tener. So it's related to tener. Haber is related to tener. So haber is a verb that we're going to use quite a bit in what we call compound tenses. This tense that we're about to look at is a compound tense, and it's a tense that we have in English as well. So when I say in English, I have written, or I have eaten, or I have cooked dinner for you, or she has studied a lot for this test, or we have drank all the coffee. Right? This is called the present perfect. And the way that we form it in English is by using the verb to have plus the past participle. So whether it's written or cooked or drank, these are all the past participles, which we've paired up with the verb to have to come up with the present perfect tense. The idea of the present perfect tense in comparison with the normal preterite tense, or in English just the normal simple past tense, is the idea that when we use the present perfect, we're talking about something that happened in the past, but that's still sort of related to now. So if you can just sort of feel the difference between I ate and I have eaten, right? Or I studied, or I have studied. The I have studied is still more related to now than I studied, which is relegated wholly to the past. And so, very important tense, one that's used very often, and one that's really quite easy to form. Let's look at what it looks like. Okay, so as I mentioned, the present perfect will be formed by haber plus the past participle. We just looked at past participles in the last class, and we talked about the way that they're used as adjectives. If you remember, when a past participle is used as an adjective, it needs to change to agree with the noun it's describing as any adjective must. Past participles, when they're used as part of a verb, will never change. They are immutable. So if you learn the past participle abierto, abierto will be used always as such. It will never change to abierta or abiertos or abiertas when it's used in a compound tense, such as the present perfect. Okay, so we're going to take a mix of haber with the past participle. We're looking at the present tense forms of haber, which are yo he, tú has, él ha, nosotros hemos, vosotros habéis, y ellos han. These are 6 forms of haber. He, has, ha, hemos, habéis, han. So, to look at an example, he comido means I have eaten. You have eaten would be has comido. He or she or you in the formal have eaten, ha comido. We have eaten, hemos comido, y'all have eaten, habéis comido, and they have eaten, han comido, as well as ustedes han comido. And that's simply all it is. A couple of notes. Remember, as I just mentioned, the past participle will never change. So, he comido is what I would say. It's also what a woman would say. Even if we're speaking about a group of people, we'd say han comido, they have eaten. We wouldn't say han comidos ever. So the comido will never change. Furthermore, even though these are 2 words that form this compound tense, you should think of them in some ways, or just think of them as the fact that they're one verb. And so even though it's 2 words, they will never be separated. In English, we do separate them. So I would say, for instance, I have never studied. Right there, we've split up have and studied. In Spanish, we'll never do that. We would say something like, no he estudiado jamás. Okay, we wouldn't say, no he jamás estudiado. So the he estudiado needs to stay together. That's very important. That's basically it in a nutshell. That is your present perfect tense. Okay, so remember, a form of haber, he, has, ha, hemos, habéis, han. Add that to a past participle such as comido, abierto, hecho, dicho, escrito, hablado, bailado, all sorts of different possibilities there, and we have the present perfect. And it will mean, for instance, I have studied, you have studied, he or she has studied, or you have studied in the formal, we have studied, y'all have studied, they have studied. Okay? Y eso es el presente perfecto. ¿Vale? Buena suerte, que estudien mucho y nos vemos en la próxima clase. Chao.